Welcome to the Formula One podcast, where we fail at our mission statement of not talking about Formula One.
What?
I know it's tough, but you know what? They continue to have all the news and just dominate the motorsports news cycle. But we should tell them who we are, shouldn't we?
We should tell them who we are.
Yes. My name is Griffin. Yep, I'm one of the hosts.
I'm Corbin, the other host. This really feels like we're doing an Always Sunny bit.
Yeah,
for some reason.
It really does. Yeah, two wars.
That's right.
Yeah.
All right, Charlie. Let's jump into this.
Yeah, let's jump straight into it. So
the audio is going, right? We did just plug in that microphone.
Yeah, no, I checked the mic.
Great.
Yeah, it's all good. We're all right.
Flawless start.
I keep being a horrible cameraman, producer person, and I'm not going to say that because I'm interviewing for positions.
You should send them this.
Yes, send them this part specifically. This past week we had really only two events, I think, that we paid attention to, and that was the Miami Grand Prix for Formula One, and it was, I forget the full name of it, but it was the IndyCar race at Barber Motorsport.
It was the Children's of Alabama Indy Grand Prix.
I was going to say something about children, because I know you have a fondness for them. So yeah, the Children of Alabama Grand Prix for IndyCar, and that was held at the Barber Motorsports Park, which the drivers really love because it's a pretty high-speed circuit. I think that, like, on broadcast, they're talking about how they're barely lifting or even hitting the brakes for like the first 5 turns.
Wow. They're
just getting after it the whole time. And I mean, you watch it, and there were some shots. I was actually talking to one of my roomies about it because I was watching a little bit of the race with my girlfriend, and my roomie came out and he was sitting there like, oh yeah, I can never really appreciate it because, like, I feel like it's really hard to understand the speed. And I was telling him, I was like, yo, dude, like, I think the cameras panning with the cars is the thing that kills the sensation of speed so much, because like you're tracking with it, so it's going to be harder to just really comprehend it, versus a locked camera. You're going to be able to see how fast it navigates a turn. There were some shots at Barber where I was like, oh my goodness.
Yeah.
These dudes are moving.
I mean, particularly, as people who've been to Grand Prix, like, when you are a stationary person with your eyes watching these cars go by, I mean, it is noticeable how fast. But I actually have kind of a fun anecdote.
Hit me.
So the IndyCar standings, when they put out the races, they, at the end, after the races, they actually show the average speed on the website of every car. Mm-hmm. So you just said, this feels like a fast race. Drivers love it because it feels like they can go all out. I'm going to go, there's only been 4 IndyCar Grand Prix this year. I'm going to go race by race for the top speed of the winner of each, right?
Okay.
So we have Firestone Grand Prix of St. Petersburg, first race. Alex Palou, 97.173 average speed.
Not bad.
That's miles per hour.
Not bad.
Thermal, next one, Alex Palou again. Surprise, surprise.
Interesting.
102.771.
Okay.
Right,
Word.
faster.
Yeah.
Race we went to, Long Beach.
Which has the longest front straight in all of IndyCar.
Right, that's
so
the
it
shoreline.
Going. It just keeps going.
Well, would you like to know the average speed is actually slower than thermal? And that's probably because of the rest of the track.
The back end is pretty slow.
Yes, Kirkwood, who of course won, average speed 100.395.
Still up there.
Now, Alabama, 116.562.
That is so fast, dude.
Like 14 miles per hour more than the next one. Like, so much faster.
The whole track is 2.38 miles, and they get it done. The last number I remember seeing was from Christian Lundgaard putting in a 1:10. Just absolutely flying.
Crazy.
It's really crazy. I'm curious if there's any data about the lap record. The fastest was Pato O'Ward in 2021, who put in 1:06. That's
66
wild.
seconds.
Yeah.
He did it in 6. That's crazy.
That's nonsense. So fast track that the drivers love. There's some good
the data shows it. It is quite literally the fastest that we have so far this year.
Well, and there was also, this continued the trend of pretty much exclusively green flag racing for this season. So they were talking about it towards the end of broadcast, where they were basically saying that they, at that point in the race, when you've been going for that long, you're going to get exhausted. There hasn't been a moment where you have a break. So like your shoulders are going to be hurting, your neck's going to be hurting. And they also talk about like your grip, your hands don't want to hold the steering wheel any longer at that point after you've been just wrestling it. And that's just, there's been green flag racing. Everything's just been like it's been good racing.
Totally.
This isn't NASCAR where we want to see crashes all the time, but it's just showing that there's good racecraft happening and nobody's bashing each other that. Yeah.
Well, and you want to talk about how long they are like maintaining this high octane action. Alex Palou finished in 1 hour, 46 minutes, 33 seconds. I mean, like that's it, an hour and 3/4.
Yeah.
That's how long he was maintaining 116 average speed. That's bonkers.
That's insane. That's nonsense.
And that is to say, the winner was Alex Palou. He is 3 for 4.
Yeah, as Kevin Lee says every time on the broadcast, that dude is the surgeon. He's just unbeatable. He's so clinical. And I was sitting there watching it, and I was thinking to myself, how is he doing this so comfortably every single time? I mean, last year, one thing that amazed me is he had so few actual wins. First off, I don't know if you know this, he's never won at an oval.
Really?
He's only won road courses.
That's so interesting.
Yeah, but the thing about him is last year he didn't even have that many wins, but he still came out with the championship. And the thing is whether or not he's always pulling out wins, he's always consistently like top 5.
Yeah.
So just no matter what, there is consistency. There's never a single error from him. Sometimes he won't have the pace, whether it's car or him, but you know that he's not going to make a mistake where other people might twitch a little bit, or the pit crew might twitch, or strategy twitched. Like there's always going to be one minor thing, but never with him. And so while other people may have had more wins across the season, they would also, like somebody like Colton Herta, he got back into really good form last year, but he also would have some races where he finishes like 17th. Yeah. And that would not happen with Palou pretty much ever.
I mean, yeah, you want to talk about like racecraft. I mean, that's it, right? It's that consistency. It's operating at the highest level and coming away with it. But obviously, so far this year, he's not even having to be. His consistency is winning.
100%. Yeah. Do you have the championship standings up?
Let me pull those up quick. So he is currently obviously in the lead with 3 wins. He stands at the top with 196. Just below him, Christian Lundgaard, which I know you have something to say to that.
I do.
He is 60 below him. The next,
that is such a gap already.
Right?
That's crazy.
And obviously Christian Lundgaard has not won a race this year.
Correct.
Because the only other person who's won a race is Kirkwood.
He hasn't won a race since 2023, and it was the Toronto race, which I was at.
Lundgaard hasn't won since 2023.
If I remember correctly, that is his only win to date.
And yet he's currently the runner-up for that's kind of an amazing thing about IndyCar is like just showing up and
we'll talk some more about Dane,
but then just below Lundgaard is Kirkwood, who did win Long Beach, the only other race winner this year, 127, only 9 off of Lundgaard. But that just shows the how peak Palou is this year.
Yeah. It's just who he is. Yeah. Overall, it was a pretty good race. One of the more interesting things that happened is all 3 of the McLarens, they qualified right by each other, and so going into the first couple turns on the first lap, there are 3 McLarens 3 wide, and they are kicking each other's ass so hard. There were no team orders saying don't race or anything. These guys were getting after it, and it was actually kind of stressful for me. I'm like, oh my god, this is the first lap, guys, please lay off. It was pretty crazy watching them go wheel to wheel and racing each other it's the title. The title's coming down to it today. They were racing hard. Yeah. Right out from the gate. I would say one of the other interesting moments was Rinus VeeKay. They kept giving him props on the broadcast. I want to confirm. Okay, yeah. So one of the more interesting things that happened in the race, I would say, is Rinus VeeKay. He's with, if I remember correctly, is he with? He's either with Rahal Lenigan. Oh no, sorry. He's with Dale Coyne Racing. Not a big name team like Chip Ganassi, Andretti, McLaren, or whatever, but still whatever. It's not the biggest name. And Rinus VeeKay was all over Scott McLaughlin's gearbox, especially in the back half of the race. And what's even crazier about that is Rinus VeeKay at one point had a he went in for a pit stop, and the wheel gun's nut flew off immediately, and it was on the front right, and the guy watched it roll away, and he couldn't recover in time, so he grabbed the spare one, and it slowed them down dramatically, but was able to secure it and minimize as much time in the pits as possible. But either way, there was a critical error in that regard, and yet he was still on the gearbox all day of a great racer, Scott McLaughlin, who's for Team Penske, one of the most like winningest teams in like any motorsports period. This guy in a basically back-end, back-marker team was really trying to fight for the podium, and he was getting really close to it. And frankly, if it wasn't for that mistake in the pit stop, if I'm not mistaken, he was supposed to come out ahead of McLaughlin.
Wow.
So that should have been his podium. Yeah. And they kept talking about it on broadcast, like, this guy is a hard wheel-to-wheel racer who didn't have a seat going into this season at first. Like, he was about to get dropped. And he's out here giving it to Penske's, on the tail of McLaren's, and Chip Ganassi.
Yeah, he's currently sitting 12th overall in the standings.
I mean, that's not bad for a back marker. So props to him. What else was notable that I can think of? I don't think there's much else to discuss on that end. I'm very curious why Malukas' race went so wrong, because that dude generally has so much pace for somebody who isn't for a big team especially, but whatever. He finished in 17th. Yeah, do you have anything else to really say?
No, nothing to add.
Cool. We can quickly talk about the F1 results.
Yeah. Here, let me pull those up real quick.
Piastri won. Piastri won as per usual.
As per usual.
Well, pause on that. The podium was Piastri, Norris, Russell, and then Verstappen missed the podium by 2 seconds after Russell, so just behind by just a little bit of a hair. What'd you think of the race?
Dramatic weekend, generally.
Yes.
Sprint, qualifying, you had the rain that threw everything off.
Kimi Antonelli got pole in the sprint.
Kimi Antonelli, the youngest pole sitter ever, which is again one of these things with an asterisk that, like, yes, it was a sprint technically, but it counts. It's not for a Grand Prix, but he is the youngest person to ever get pole. Also, in his rookie year, which is great for him. He's a good racer.
Yes.
He's honestly a great racer for a child, an unbelievably young person.
For a baby.
And he's in his rookie year. He's racing for a team that is, I mean, I feel like we talk about this all the time. Mercedes doesn't seem to matter, but they're there. They are there. They are beating, generally, Red Bull and Ferrari, which makes them the number 2 team.
They are I would say maybe they could be argued to be an Alex Palou of teams, where they're not doing anything particular, but they're at least constantly in the background conversation, finishing consistently enough. I told you how there's a meme where it just says, like, George Russell does nothing, P3 finish.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, he's never really doing anything that makes him look like he deserves to be in the conversation, and yet he'll always be that third man on the podium.
I mean, it's truly, as you were describing, that Palou didn't he wasn't always winning last year, and yet he was world champion last year for IndyCar.
Yeah.
And we have who is it? Lundgaard, right? Who is number 2 in IndyCar and hasn't won this year, right? Like, I'm kind of getting Russell vibes from that, which is crazy, because I certainly don't think about George Russell. I just kind of never have.
There's nothing to think about.
But he's the real competitor. So,
absolutely.
And in the standings, he's 4th. He's actually behind Verstappen, who has won, of course. Verstappen won the Japanese Grand Prix and is pretty competitive in spite of his car in every race. And but Mercedes is sitting pretty comfortably in the number 2 seat. McLaren is running away with the season as a constructor, but Mercedes is leading Red Bull in 3rd position by 40 points.
Mercedes
36 points.
Russell, of the 7 races that we've had so far this year, he's had the 3rd spot in 3 of them. So that's almost 50% on podium. And then just looking through his career stats right now, 2022, he had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 P3s. The next year, he had 2. The following year, last year, he had 2. So he's just like constantly always around there, and it looks like, it really looks like the lowest he ever gets for the most part is 7th. That's typically the lowest that he lands.
And that's probably after like a pretty bad race.
Probably so.
Whereas that is currently where Lewis Hamilton is averaging.
Yeah. Yeah. So, before we talk about that, Kimi Antonelli, he's a child.
He's a child.
And he's also one of the things that's indicative of the future media of Formula One. They are just pumping out shows left and right. Because they have Drive to Survive, obviously, which has been going for, I think, 7 years now.
Yeah, 2019, I think is when.
Yeah, something like that. And they have now a show that's coming about F1 Academy, which is the feeder series to F1 that's filled exclusively with women in F4 cars. And now they also just dropped a documentary about Kimi Antonelli called The Seat. And the tagline is basically that, like, oh, this is the most critical moment that's ever happened in sports, I think is what they said. Like, the most critical call was when they hit him up. I think it's a bit masturbatory how they're hitting him up. Oh, here's another piece I forgot about. Did you see that they are making an album for the F1 movie?
Yes, that's right. That was a whole Miami thing, right?
What a snooze, dude.
They replaced all of the driver names at the garage in the paddock with...
Did they do that?
Yeah, they, instead of having like the drivers' names, what they usually do, it was like Ed Sheeran's name was up there. It was like each one had their name.
That is so stupid.
I mean, it truly is like...
They're whoring themselves out.
It's F1 is like going hardcore multimedia.
It's so ridiculous. And I'm like... They also just announced that Miami's going to stay on the calendar till 2041.
2041?
2041. And everybody in the replies was just replying, buddy, Formula One's not going to be here in
Miami's not going to be
18
here.
or 16 years.
Gonna swallow it.
Yeah, like nobody's going to care, and this just won't exist.
That's
crazy. Like they're just going so hard, and I feel like this might be them aggressively pushing because they want to stay so hard in the limelight. Is Formula One Jennifer Lopez?
Yeah, just doing everything.
Everything, trying to stay so hard in the spotlight and not willing to bow out gracefully. The only difference is that Jennifer Lopez is trying to stay in the spotlight, 20 years after her prime? And F1 is still arguably in its prime.
Right. It's milking it for everything it can.
Oh my god, dude. And the cow's dry.
Yep.
The udders are flat. Like there's nothing left to milk. But goddamn, are they trying? It's really ridiculous.
Yeah, it's we'll see. We'll see what the it definitely feels like they're biting off like abs. I mean, because this is Liberty Media at the end of the day who's really doing this, right? It's like they are trying to extract as much value as they can in every corner. And if that means making insane deals that who knows, like Miami of all races, right? Like Monaco, sure, like it's so historic, but and even like Las Vegas I can see because it's Vegas. Coda I hope never leaves because it's truly great racing. But Miami, like and genuinely I think Miami has overperformed as a circuit,
especially for a parking lot.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like it kind of is not a terrible race. Mm-hmm. But it is a parking lot. It is like parking lot for the Dolphins stadium.
And it's in the middle of the iron sights of hurricanes.
Yes.
Like there's genuinely an environmental conversation to have here, which is like, it's not just that, F1 won't exist in a couple of years because we won't care about it, but it's also like, Miami probably won't exist.
Well, and Florida is so the like Saudi Arabia of the United States. Like it's just like politically the most like bankrupt. It's the most like definitely going to be destroyed by something. Yeah. Right? And like it's the most like because Miami's also the city where the mayor was like they want it to be like Bitcoin USA, basically. That's where they have a like yearly Bitcoin.
Is that a thing?
Yes, they like installed, you know, the Charging Bull in the financial district in New York. It's like very famous. They put up like a cider one in Miami. Actually, I think nearby.
What a joke.
Hard Rock. That's like, oh yes, because we're going to be the Wall Street for Bitcoin, for cryptocurrency. Like Miami, like
just so new money gauche. My dad and I, we talked about it because we're car guys. We both have Corvettes because we're jackasses, and the current generation Corvette, the C8, it is incredible, as all Corvettes are, because they democratize power to the people. They've regularly made dirt cheap machines that outperform all the European counterparts, and that is especially the case with this current generation, the C8. At the base level, it was great. It is basically a Ferrari, but it costs 60 grand.
Right.
You pay for the Z06, now it's more track ready, and it will outperform things like the 458 that it's based off of. And now you have the ZR1, which is going to sit there, and it has 1,064 horsepower, and the only other things that perform to that degree are multi-million-dollar cars like Pagani's and Koenigsegg's.
Right.
And we were talking about how there's a huge exotic car like rally parade that happens like through so much of Florida, but I think it starts in Miami. And there's a rule where you straight up cannot drive an American-made vehicle, just period. And it's like, okay, it's one thing if it's like a Mustang, right? Yeah. Granted, Mustang is now in GT racing and doing pretty well, so whatever. But nevertheless, like it's one thing for pulling up with some dumb American muscle car, but this is one of the best. The proof is in the pudding, engineering wise. Like it's phenomenal.
It is a luxury sports car.
It is a luxury sports car that kicks all the other cars' asses. But Miami just doesn't care about that stuff because they're all new money and need the brands.
Yeah, exactly. They want Bugattis.
They need that Bugatti. They need the Bentleys. They'll be pulling up in generations old hoopties, but just because it has a prancing horse on it, they're like, yeah, I'm pretty cool.
Yeah, exactly.
So screw you, Miami.
We're done trashing Florida.
Further in the note of like kind of vapid vibes at Miami, I'm a believer in American GM supremacy, and Cadillac had a big party at the Miami Grand Prix, and they were posting about it on their Instagram. They're like, hey, countdown, something big's happening. And I was like, okay, word, are we about to see liveries? Like, what's going on here? And then it was just a party?
Yeah, it was just kind of like, it was like we do know that you're gonna be in the sport. Like we've all read, you know, the motorsports articles.
Yeah.
We've known for a while, but they felt the need to like put it out there. I don't know.
Yeah, and I was listening to some other journalists talk about it, and they were basically saying it's like, well, this is just them saying that they're going to be around more. It's like, well, I'd hope so.
Yeah, they are competing, right?
Yeah, they're competing in less than a year.
You know, you seriously like call me when you have, for one thing, a livery, a driver.
Yeah, all I saw was photos of like Terry Crews for hours, and I'm like, all right.
Is he driving?
I started to watch White Chicks again the other day. Right. He's phenomenal on that.
Love Terry Crews.
But that's not
relevant.
Not relevant. Yeah. So that felt kind of vapid. And then one good thing, objectively great thing that happened at the Miami race was they had life-size Lego cars there.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
You want to talk about that?
They're not life-size, but they're pretty damn close.
Yeah.
F1 cars
made out of Legos
and actually made out of Legos.
Yeah, like 100% made out of Legos, and they were motorized. They could go up to the 25 miles an hour, and they did a lap around the circuit.
I actually am curious because I'm just not realizing how were they motorized.
It's got to be some kind of like electric motor in each wheel, probably. Yeah, I don't know. It's got to be something like that. But yeah, they did a lap around it, and at one point it turned into bumper cars. There's great footage of specifically Lewis Hamilton giggling like a child, which you feel like you don't feel like you get that innocent Lewis anymore. He's turned very sophisticated. He's still awesome, but yeah, it was very cute watching him giggle up a storm during that. And yeah, they were having fun. It turned into bumper cars, and everybody just started crashing into each other.
I think they said they were like, they really wanted to know like what would happen if they crashed into each other, which is so great.
And they fell apart because it's Legos. And
it really kind of depresses. I'm sure the master builders that were putting them together were stoked about it. But like, do you know how long it takes to build
Just
any Lego
Oh my god, the combined man hours on those would be crazy.
Because they're they didn't just build like, okay, here's the one type of Lego car, right? It's not meant to look like Legos.
Yeah.
They actually have the little, each individual piece, the type that you step on.
Here's a question: do you think they would have found a boatload of red pieces, or do you think they would have like built the Ferrari car and then painted it? I feel like they probably did it the hard way.
No, I'm looking at the video of them putting it together. They're literally like separate colored pieces.
That is so crazy.
They're nearly 1-to-1. They weigh 1,000 kilograms, and they are 400,000 bricks.
That is so gnarly.
Which is insane.
How crazy would it be if they added the nuances of the different aerodynamic elements? So, like, not all of them would be the same.
Right.
That would be so wild.
I guess I'm curious how 1-to-1 they are to the cars versus, like, a standard, like, this is approximately an F1 car.
Yeah.
They're basically spec. Because they say, the cars could get up to 20 kilometers an hour. They are two-seaters, so obviously that's going to totally change everything about them. But... yeah, I mean, I'm looking at them, and they are just colors alone. Like, they got the sponsor.
It's so crazy. It is so intricate.
It's so, it's silly, but damn it, I'm glad they did it.
I'm so happy.
Like, that's the kind of fun stuff.
Credit where it's due,
Especially if the drivers are enjoying it, right?
Yeah.
Like, there's so much bullshit that these drivers have to do for sponsors. They have to do for F1 to, like... be these gentlemen who are, at the peak of their craft.
They're still buttoned up there and allowed to say a single bad word unless they want to lose a boatload of money.
They can't curse.
Yeah.
Right? But when they get to have fun like this and everybody likes watching it, like, I'm here.
I love it.
I'm here for
it's
it.
Great.
I'm here for Lego F1.
Yeah.
Lego F1. Somebody should do something with that.
I hope not. So somebody pointed out, I saw a tweet that somebody was saying, wow, Jack Doohan's last full lap in Formula One was in a Lego car.
Oh my god,
yeah.
That didn't dawn on me.
Which, to bring that up, Alpine is blowing up right now from the inside,
Lord.
as per usual. So, quick rundown, they're French.
Enough said.
No, so basically what, last year, going into the final race of the season, they kicked out Esteban Ocon, who I'm not crazy about Ocon, but they kicked him out with one race to go to replace him with Jack Doohan, the Australian guy. And that rubbed a lot of people the wrong way because it was so unceremonious, and even then, it wasn't even kind of like an official thing. Like, everyone knew and was giving him hey, it was great getting to know you, goodbye, before it was even publicly announced, because that's how poorly they kept the secret. And it also sucks because he's the only person who ever got them a win or a podium or just like anything meaningful. And that's not true. Gasly got him a podium as well when they were at Brazil and they both podiumed. Crazy moment. Yeah. But either way, all the meaningful results only came from Ocon. And they just kicked him out unceremoniously. Really, really bad look. Replace him with Jack Doohan. We are 7 races in. Doohan's out. There's been a lot of rumors for a while that Flavio Briatore, the now team principal at Alpine, was basically hovering over him like a vulture, ready to kick him out and take over Franco Colapinto. And they did exactly that. And the reason they wanted Franco is because Franco took over for, if I remember correctly, Alex Albon was sick for a moment last year. Franco subbed, immediately got points, and had like 2 good results. And then it went to like normal, a couple crashes, and then mediocrity. But it was still a good enough debut that people had their eyes on him, and they signed him to Alpine as the reserve driver. But Flavio almost immediately was telling Jack, like, hey, buddy, if you screw up, you're gone.
Yeah.
And so they did replace him with Jack Doohan on a 6-week, with Franco Colapinto on a 6-race contract. So I guess they're hoping that Franco does something in 6 weeks. Or maybe they'll kick him out too.
Right. And would they put back in Jack Doohan? Like, what's
it's a great question.
The plan here?
Yeah. And what's even stranger about this is so many people are talking about, like, God, I feel so bad for Doohan. Like, I'm curious who his manager is, because they, like, clearly aren't doing well enough by him, the fact that this could happen. Flavio Briatore is his manager. So his own manager's like actively working against him. And here's the other thing. Flavio Briatore is not a good guy.
I'm just imagining, like, it's kind of all coming to me at once that imagine being Jack Doohan and that guy's your manager. Like, he must have been his manager for a minute, right? Like, he's not his manager recently, right? So that means that, his career has just been colored by that guy?
Yeah.
Crashgate guy?
Yeah. And Crashgate being a huge issue in, what year was it?
2008.
2008. It was basically when he was the team principal of Renault, he had Nelson Piquet crash at a opportune time for Alonso to run away with the race.
This was at the Singapore Grand Prix.
Singapore Grand Prix, yeah. Crashed in such a way. It was just clearly fabrication, and it handed Alonso the championship pretty much right then and there. It was like decided. Like, Alonso won. And a lot of issues with that. It all came like very public years later. It's like, yeah, no, we straight up cheated. And the results of all of that was Briatore was banned from motorsports for life. Not F1, motorsports. And now he's managing an F1 team again. Mm-hmm. I don't know. I don't want it. Like, you could say make it make sense, and I don't think it ever would. And on top of this, allegedly, because I haven't read it myself and I was not there when it was written, he's on the Epstein flight log. So,
I mean, it's so of course he is.
Yeah.
Sure. Why wouldn't he be?
Bernie Ecclestone is supposedly on there as well.
Yeah, we all did that.
Lawrence Stroll. The father of the window licker.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Damn.
The owner of Aston Martin. So Briatore, I think we were both wondering this. How is he? Not only was he even an advisor to Renault or Alpine, how is he even now the team principal? It's because he technically wasn't banned. He was banned, but it was contested in French court and overruled. But he agreed to never go back into motorsport.
Okay.
That's how that happened. That's why he hasn't done anything in however long.
All right. Whatever. The devil is back. What matters.
It
Yeah.
really is. I mean, I texted you, he's ready. Why doesn't he just run for FIA president at this point,
Yeah. That's so crazy. Yeah. Well, that's Flavio for you.
Yeah.
Did you see the clip of, I think I sent it to you, of Piastri saying that IndyCar is too fast for him? Specifically the Indy 500? That just gives me so much more respect for Oscar. I already respected him. And then him admitting, oh no, that's like too crazy. Actually, this is going to be a side note, but it was in the Ecclestone era back in the 90s when kart was really blowing up for America's Open Wheel Series.
Right.
It was starting to take like a noticeable market share, like viewership away from F1, and Bernie would trash talk it all the time. And he's like, no, not real racing. It's all trash. They're more wrestlers than they are athletes. Like, he was really, really coming for them. And God, it was after Nigel Mansell actually went to kart to race there, and Nigel was loving it and talking so well about it.
Yeah. I should say kart being what became IndyCar today. It merged with another series to become.
It split and then rebought. It's IndyCar's history's trash. Yeah.
But just to say, kart is IndyCar.
But yeah, it's functionally IndyCar. Yes. And the biggest F1 star going to America, a largely North American series, Bernie Ecclestone freaked out, bought his contract back to like force him back into F1, all kinds of crazy stuff. But the director of kart back then, he's like, yeah, let's organize a race between the two. I'll bring my cars to Formula One, and you bring your cars to race on one of the ovals. And immediately Fabio goes, that's too dangerous, it's too fast. It's like, oh, so are you guys not that good then? What's going on? You refuse to race on this one thing? That's just to say, the Indy 500 scares everybody, and Piastri's open about that. And Piastri is a killer, which shows in his performance this weekend and just in general this season, because he's the championship leader by a decent chunk.
Yep.
And I wanted to bring that up in part because I think that it might be time to do a dissection on McLaren. Mm-hmm. Because I'm very on record of talking trash about specifically Lando Norris.
No, really.
Yeah, just,
Crazy.
Yeah, a talentless hack in the form of a human boy. And Piastri's just coming and like turning tricks all day and doing really well at it, and I have no choice but to respect that. And so then it really drives into the question, really hammers on the question of who's the number one driver there. Because if the number one who's been there for years is getting out qualified by some functional child comparatively, what's that say about the adult in the room? On top of this, that same thing is happening in IndyCar, because you have Christian Lundgaard, who came from a crappy team in the past, who had that one win in 2023, so like credit where it was due for him. That was a great win, and again, I was there, I was happy to watch it. But now he's finally with a real team, with real support, a real facility, just like actual functionality.
Yeah.
And he's immediately kicking. Nolan Siegel, there's nothing bad to say about him. He won Le Mans last year in the LMP2 category, which is why Zach Brown decided I need to kick out the fourth driver in the number 7 car because that seat is haunted, and put in Nolan Siegel because he won it for Zach Brown's other racing team, United Autosports. But there's nothing much to say about Nolan. Fine, whatever. Pato is obviously the guy.
He's the guy.
In IndyCar in general. Like, he's just the one that is the heart and soul of the series. That's why there are ads about him, and he has so many more followers than everybody else. He always has his own merch booth at every single race because he's that big.
Merch booth, yep.
And Christian Lundgaard is kicking his ass pretty well right now. Does McLaren not know what a number one driver is? Like, what? Talk to me. What are your thoughts?
I mean, I think it's, well, for one thing, Pato was performing at a high level and is very likable. He's a big personality.
Yes.
And so I think that I can see, winds of change, particularly from, somebody who's as mercenary as Zach Brown, be like, well, I'm going to go with the guy, right? So if a guy starts overperforming, that's who I'm going to go with. Same thing with Lando Norris. I mean, Lando Norris has been on McLaren his entire F1 career.
Yes.
And so obviously they've been kind of they've been grooming him for greatness, and they finally have the car that can deliver that. And they also, again, Zach Brown, he's mercenary. He picked up Piastri, a great driver, a truly next generation driver, and said, I'm going to put these two together. And I think people predicted Lando Norris just because of his seniority, but it's Piastri's raw talent that is winning out here.
And that talent is raw. Like, it is there. It is
there.
so... I was talking to my girlfriend about it because I'm forcing her to watch so much racing with me.
It's the way to do it.
It's the way, yeah, naturally. What else am I supposed to do? The answer is typically Verstappen's going to win every single race, and we were watching it and we were trying to place bets on who is going to win. And she's like, first off, this isn't fair. You know what you're talking about, Griffin. And I was like, yeah, but shut up. Give me money. But I was saying to her, I was like, I think that Piastri at present is 90% of the driver that Verstappen is. But the car is 10% more than Red Bull, so it evens out in the end.
Yep.
That's to say, the kid has talent, and it will only, in theory, continue to go up. He's in great equipment right now, but he's still, isn't this his 3rd year?
I think so.
Yeah, he's still a baby.
He's still a baby.
He's got so much time to grow, and if the program continues on this trend, God, that kid will just do so well. But I mean, I'm curious. You're saying because of Zach's mercenary attitude, do you think that they would? I don't think that they would fall behind a driver because they talk all the time about we have 2 number 1 drivers. And that's where their issues always land them, because they have a lack of conviction, because they want to respect both drivers and not get in the way and do team orders. And that's what cost them the championship last year. Because when it was clear Oscar had no chance of winning the championship, but maybe he would still be in contention for an occasional win or something, they would give Oscar actual resources and efforts, as opposed to saying, Oscar, slow the hell down, let Lando go, because Lando actually has a chance to win this championship. They wouldn't do any of that. I've said Lando's not built for it, but McLaren doesn't seem built for it because they just don't think.
So you don't think that... I see what you mean. You're not saying that they have put the wrong person in the number 1 seat. You're saying they're not putting anybody in the number 1 seat.
what is a number one seat in general with them is I think what it gets down to. Because, yeah, they don't have a number. They have 2 number 1 drivers is what they say.
Love to say that.
They have 2 number 1 drivers. Horseshit. So stupid. You can't say that. It's dumb. It's why they lost the Drivers' Championship. They won the Constructors.
Yeah.
But they lost the drivers because they won't make a decision. And in IndyCar, I mean, it's still only, 4 races in on IndyCar, I think. There's still a lot of time. And for what it's worth, Pato he's really, really good on ovals. So we will have to wait and see how that pans out when they start hitting the ovals, seeing how well Pato and Christian stack up against each other. But also, if I'm not mistaken, Christian was always at least solid on the ovals, and that's when he was on the crap teams. Mm-hmm. So I think that it's going to turn into a point not too long from now where there's going to have to be a conversation about where's the IndyCar team going for McLaren as well.
Yeah, I mean, I agree on the IndyCar front. I genuinely think McLaren is, unless there are some radical changes, which I mean there always can be, of course, mid-season upgrades. I think McLaren is kind of going to run away with this, even for a driver. I think so? One of their drivers. I mean, I think it's Piastri just because his talent is showing through.
Yeah.
He's got the nerve, whereas we've mentioned multiple times that Lando kind of loses it at the wrong times. He's got
at every time.
He's a good driver. He's a talented driver, but he lacks the nerve necessary to deliver a championship. People
talk about ball knowledge in team sports.
Yeah.
Lando doesn't have wheel knowledge, and it's so clear. When it was the race before this,
Saudi
Arabia, Lewis Hamilton faked him 3 times going into the DRS zone. Or twice, and was about to do it a 3rd time before Lando's engineer got on the radio and he's like, hey buddy, he keeps punking you and DRS faking you so that he gets the huge speed boost. Don't do that this time. Let him go ahead of you. And Lando's like, oh yeah, okay, because he can't think for himself. This race, he immediately gets forced off the road by Verstappen going into, I think, the 3rd turn or something like that. And there were just some moments where Verstappen was really getting his elbows out, and people were talking about how Lando is racing basically too considerately, not like a world champion. But even if he was racing like a world champion, but he was still trying to be honorable in that moment, he's just not considering the variables, because there was a moment where Oscar is overtaking on the outside, and Max is great at doing a dive bomb, whether it's to kind of piss off an opponent racer, or because that's how he's making the overtake. He's just not afraid to push you off. And Oscar going into the outside of turn, he kind of timed the brakes perfectly so that Max would kind of overshoot just a little bit. It basically just showed Oscar was familiar. He has watched the tapes.
He's watching the tapes.
He's familiar with the driving style and the defensive techniques of Verstappen, and he adapted to it perfectly going into his overtaking zone, into his overtaking opportunity, versus Lando. He's always just going to keep getting punked out by everybody because he's not paying attention.
Right.
He's just going on Sunday drives and doing well because his car's faster, but there's no thought behind any of it.
He's racing in the moment. Yeah, Piastri's definitely racing like a person who is competing for a world championship. He's learning what the world champion, the reigning world champ, does. He knows his strengths, he knows his weaknesses, which are none, right? He's going to know that his car is faster and he's going to perform where he needs to.
Yeah.
I genuinely think that if there is a question about which McLaren team needs to start thinking about what their team is, I think it's IndyCar. I think F1 just need to get through this year, because next year it's a totally new ballgame.
Sure. Yeah, I'll agree with that. I will and I won't, because yes, the rules are going to change next year in F1, so who knows what any of this is going to shape out to be. But if they're still putting money on a horse that's dying and they have a brand new stallion, it doesn't matter that they're going to be racing on different horses. This is now a tire metaphor,
that's true.
But either way.
I mean, but if they have a world champion in their paddock, you think that they're not going to have a number one driver then?
You would hope. You would hope that they end up falling in line at that point. You were saying Oscar knows that his car is faster. That's one thing that so many pundits were talking about after this race and after the moment where Verstappen forced him off. You were saying that Oscar knows that his car is faster than Verstappen's, and just like letting it play out with that in mind. That's kind of something that a lot of the pundits were talking about this weekend after Verstappen forced Lando off the track, because Lando was fighting for that track like it was the last lap of his life, but it was the first lap in the first couple of corners. You know you have the faster car, concede the position because there's a straightaway 2 turns from now where you're going to dog walk him. But he just can't think beyond what's 10 feet in front of him. Like I just don't understand how little wheel knowledge there is with this guy. Just everything he does, it is the most short-sighted attempt at success, as opposed to ever taking a step back and looking at the big picture. Ferrari broke Hamilton. Yeah, do you want to talk about that for a moment?
Lewis Hamilton is, he's the greatest.
Yes.
He's the greatest.
And will remain as such.
Yes. We love him. And he is a gentleman. I would say he's a testament to his nation.
Yeah.
And
he looked great at the Met Gala. He is like a true Renaissance man in so many ways.
He looked great at the Met Gala, which is only a day later.
Yes.
Right? After the race. And he got a little testy. He got a little his British nerve was tested. It seems to be continuing to be tested.
Yeah.
Ferrari's not doing it this year. Ferrari's kind of doing a Ferrari this year.
Yeah, they're being very typical.
To kind of put a fine point on it, they are in 4th. They have 94 points to Red Bull's 105, and 3rd. You know who's just below them? I mean, I should say they have considerably less points, but they are, if Red Bull's above, Williams. Williams is in 5th place. They are effectively, I mean, we in years past it's been best of the rest, right? It's who's not competing for a world champion, who's not competing for those top 3 seats basically. And for a long time it's been McLaren and Alpine. They did that for a minute at the end of the 10s and early 20s. And I guess it's Ferrari now. Ferrari is now trying to outrace Williams and Haas, right? They're not really competing with anybody. Ferrari ended Miami sandwiched between Alexander Albon in a Williams and Carlos Sainz in a Williams.
Yeah, and I mean, on one hand, that's credit to that's a huge credit to how much Williams has grown.
100%.
So,
they have great drivers. And they suddenly have a car that isn't total dog shit.
I will recognize the game every single time. That being said, there's still no reason for Ferrari to be tangling with Williams. So many people were talking about, so many pundits and journalists were saying, the fact that they were celebrating holding off Carlos Sainz is really damning of the current Ferrari program.
Right, for 8th position.
Yeah.
Right.
It's really tough. And I mean, for what it's worth, I guess if we want to talk about history, Williams is the second most winningest team. So first is Ferrari, but part of that's longevity. Ferrari has 16 constructors, 15 driver titles. Williams is number 2 with 9 constructors and 7 driver titles. McLaren is tied for constructors at 9, but they have more drivers' titles. But either way, Williams is historically a good team.
Yeah.
But Ferrari's Ferrari.
It's Ferrari.
It's nonsense that these are even conversations that are being had, and that energy is really coming from Hamilton. And mind you, Hamilton, as we were saying, he's a very gentlemanly guy. He's normally so kind and soft-spoken. There'll be times, there was a time that he had his race strategy was called incorrectly. I think it was at the Red Bull Ring in the 2010s. And his race engineer was like, yo man, called the strategy wrong today, but you need to handle this now. You better drive. And Hamilton was just like, all right. sounds good. Like, sucks, but let's do it. And he did it. And he does that all the time. He will pull insane scenarios. Sometimes he'll be quiet on the radio. Like, I think about his driving in the 2021 Brazilian Grand Prix. You did not hear a peep from him all weekend. And he was driving like an angry beast handling business.
Oh, yeah.
He was never saying anything bad, but you could just feel like, oh, this man has a fire in him, and it is cranked to the 11th.
It was masterclass.
It was insanity.
It was peak. Absolutely.
The angriest I think I've heard him on radio beforehand was when he lost the 2021 championship, when they were talking about doing the safety car situation. I forget his words, but I think he says, like, I think all he said was, this is being manipulated, man. That's the angriest he got when he lost his 8th championship. And if we're being honest, purely based off the number games, no, not even is he not wrong. It's like purely based off like the numbers and where he and his team is right now, that was probably going to be his last chance at winning the 8th championship. And all he said was, this is being manipulated, in a very calm tone. This weekend, though, oh my God, was he getting so angry at his strategist. Because Ferrari, they're notorious for bad strategists. Their cars will go in and out. Right now, it's pretty out. But their strategists just get it wrong pretty much 100% of the time. It's more impressive that they haven't fallen into a win.
Yes.
Because they're just so consistently out. It's like, wow, you guys have to be purposely choosing bad to not even get a lucky result here and there. And there were points where what happened during well, first off, if I remember correctly, Hamilton got podium in the sprint, right?
Yes.
So take that for what it's worth. And he won the Chinese sprint as well. Broken clocks are right twice a day, but also those are sprint wins, not Grand Prix wins.
And also this sprint was ended on safety car.
That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, it probably would have fallen apart if it ended under green flag.
Right.
And so what happened during the proper Grand Prix is there's a point where Hamilton is on pretty like literally brand new mediums. Leclerc is ahead of him, and Antonelli is in front of Leclerc. Leclerc and Hamilton are teammates. And Leclerc's sitting there like, yo, I got pace right now. I got fresh tires. Let me get around Leclerc. Let me attack Antonelli. Because they weren't that far from each other. And then he basically got the classic, we are checking. Like, which is just their way of saying, like, oh, we're putting our thumbs up our ass and we're not doing anything for the next 20 minutes. Yeah. And so he's sitting there racing around and he keeps radioing, what's going on, guys? What's going on? And like, just nothing on the other end. It was just like a flat line. And he's getting angry about it. He's like, yo, this is not fair. Remember I forget which the previous race was. I think it may have been China. He's like, remember at this race, I paved the way.
He said specifically, in China, I go out of the way when you're on a different road.
Yeah.
The response is, understood, we swapped the cars.
Yeah. So he's like sitting there starting to push back like, guys, I've played ball with you in the past. What are we doing right now? This isn't fair to me. And then at one point they say...
His response to that is the...
Yeah. So like at one point... go for it. You have the transcript.
His response to understood we swapped the cars, after saying, in China, I go out of the way, is... have a tea break while you're at it. Come on.
Yeah. Like he's just yelling at his engineers, go have a glass of tea. Like, get out of here. Because they're just screwing with him and not making any decision that helps him and that's not considerate of his past, helping that very team. And so he's just sitting there, have a tea while you're at it. Because, I mean, finally they let him buy Leclerc, and his tires were already pretty dead at that point. They had lost all their fresh life when he's able to attack, or at the very least put pressure on Antonelli. And so they wasted the opportunity for Hamilton to do anything, and then it just turned into them keeping the same gaps to each other, playing grab ass, not doing anything. And at one point, Leclerc is basically like, hey guys, are you going to swap us back? Because that was my position. He's not doing anything. Y'all should swap me back. And they're like, oh yeah, we're checking. Nothing for the longest time, once again, because Ferrari's not making any calls. Even then, you can also, somebody was talking about, you can see when the different calls came in from Ferrari. When Hamilton's saying, oh, hey, can you guys tell Leclerc to let me by? There was nothing for several laps. They didn't even ask the guy. They were just sitting and doing nothing.
Yeah.
Crazy. And so Leclerc's sitting there, hey, man, can I get back? And they're like, I don't know, can you? Doing nothing for the longest time. And at one point, Leclerc's fighting with the engineers as well. And at one point, Leclerc's basically like, you know what? don't even worry about it. Like we're fine. Like just let it finish as it is. If he's doing better, which Hamilton was finally starting to bring the gap in a little bit on Antonelli, but it's mainly because Antonelli was starting to lose pace as opposed to Hamilton gaining. But Leclerc's basically resigned. He's like, yeah, whatever, just let the race play out. But as he's saying that, they were finally communicating with Hamilton, hey, slow down. And then so Leclerc passed, and literally like mid-broadcast, he's like, all right, guess, yep, we're switched back now. It just, none of what they've done has made sense. And then just a couple minutes after that, they're continuing to race around, and Hamilton's engineer is giving stats and numbers back to Hamilton, basically just letting him know where his pace is and what everything's looking like. And they go, yeah, you got Carlos Sainz in the Williams behind you, 1.4 seconds. To which Hamilton replies,
you want me to let him pass as well?
The calmest, nicest guy who lost his 8th championship and just said, I think this is getting manipulated, is sitting here yelling at his engineer, how about you have a damn tea break? And, oh, do you want me to let everybody by me? Is this what's happening now?
Yeah.
Like, it took 7 races for Ferrari to break him.
I mean, when shit went wrong when he was at Mercedes, at least he knew Mercedes was operating at peak capacity. They were working their ass off. And mistakes happen. Ferrari is only fucking up. They're
100% of the time. Yeah. It's really laughable. And it pisses me off as a Hamilton fan. And also, we made a whole episode talking about, does Ferrari have the juice? That video says they do. It's the cool, always strong Ferrari. Sempre forza Ferrari.
Yeah.
Badass.
It's hype.
I mean, I almost bought Ferrari merch when I was in Japan. Wow. It's so sad watching how they just 100% of the time are bad.
Yeah.
And I feel bad because I want the best for Leclerc. I said I want the best for Leclerc. He's fine. I want the best for Hamilton. It's even if Hamilton was not my guy, everyone is still just sitting there like, what's happening? It's so bad for every metric, and I would feel bad if it was my favorite driver or whatever. I don't know.
I mean, and it's particularly egregious because it's not like this is the first time. It's not like this is new this year. The memes have been around talking about this going into this year. It was like, well, now Hamilton gets to experience what Ferrari drivers have been experiencing. The reason why Vettel, went to Aston Martin, retired from Aston Martin.
Yeah.
Right? Like, Ferrari doesn't have... I mean, it almost makes me wonder, are these race engineers and these strategists, are they sitting there, like, when they have to make a decision, do they have to, like, run it up a chain of command, Is there someone in,
I want to imagine it's like the death of Stalin, where it's just, like, weaponized incompetence, and they have to, go through all the chains of command, and nobody's accountable for any action, for fear or whatever the reason is.
Right. There's just some, like, ancient a member of the Ferrari family that has to make every
somebody dynamic. They have to go consult with, like, the shaman and the broken soul of Enzo in his grave before they make any decision.
Only way. Even
it's crazy.
What tires are we on? What tires should we go on?
It's so bad.
What driver should lead? When should you swap cars? Like, it's terrible.
It's really, really, really bad. And I wanted to turn around. Dude, I had Ferrari stock in 2022. Going into that regulation, I was texting my roomies because or my old college roomies. We were all really they were into it at the time. I still am, obviously. But I was texting them during the practice sessions. I was like, guys, Ferrari has it this year. Ferrari has it. They had that beautiful, beautiful car. Yeah. I think that would have been the SF23 if I'm not mistaken. The massive sidewall. Oh my God.
Pods, yeah.
It was so big. It was so beautiful. Perfect livery. Like, I loved everything about it. And Leclerc won, I think, the first 5 races.
Yeah. Well, and this was when a Red Bull's car was dying. Literally, they were not finishing races.
Yeah. And so I was like, guys, I'm telling you, I'm right. Give me all your money. Ferrari's going to win this. They're looking great. I'm not even a Ferrari fanboy. I don't care much about their cars. Like, they are what they are. But, God, it's just, they are just always bad.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's all. It's tough.
It's tough. I mean, I think I texted you this the other day that with regards to regulation change next year, if Ferrari doesn't have the juice, I mean, does Hamilton stick around? Does he sign another year?
I think he knows that he doesn't have any other options. I think the only other thing, I'm pretty sure he talked about, or maybe it was the other way around, Newey and Hamilton has never happened.
I see.
Yeah, I think it's Newey who wishes that he had opportunity to work with Hamilton.
So, like, you think if, like, Fernando decides to drop, or they finally, Lawrence finally figures it out and cans Lance?
That would be far too nice.
Oh my God, can you imagine Fernando Alonso, Lewis Hamilton re-team up at Aston Martin?
That would be crazy.
In a car designed by Adrian. That might be the greatest year of F1 ever. Like, even if it's a shit car, like, just the drama of these two driving again.
Hamilton admits it would be a privilege to work with amazing Newey at Ferrari in 2025. So, like, they both, and Newey has talked about, God, I wish that at some point in my career I would have worked with Ferrari. Like, I think that would be the only chance for a win to come from for him at this point. I do like that fan cam kind of thing. Sorry to go back to your point. If Alonso and Hamilton came back, I mean, they're both calmer, cooler guys now.
Yeah.
But it would be hilarious if just the generational beef starts again immediately. That would be so great.
It would be so good.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it would just be the two of them trying to out-cool guy each other, which we all win in that case.
Yeah. Agreed. Anyway, should we say goodbye?
Yeah, I think we're good to wrap up. That was sufficiently dramatic. We didn't touch on this at all, but I feel the need to just say it. But Carlos Sainz Sr., please save the FIA. Save motorsport. Save us all.
Mohammed Ben Sulayem is not a great man.
Nope.
He's very annoying. He's the current president of the FIA, and we would like him to be gone very much so. So if Carlos Sainz Sr., if you take it over the way some of the rumors are suggesting, that'd be pretty nice. Do you know who the other person who's rumored is?
No.
Susie Wolf.
Oh, yes, I did know about this rumor. Yeah, and there was the question of...
She's cool. Don't get it twisted.
Yeah.
The only concerns for, I guess, both of them is that is a massive conflict of interest. If your son is a driver, let alone one who got snubbed from a top team, you might be a little bit petty at said top team and just... Maybe you want to manipulate things to be a little more in your son's favor.
Right. Or your husband owns an F1 team.
Yeah, your husband owns
Mercedes.
one of the other most successful teams. It's just, a couple questions there.
Honestly, like, it can't possibly be more corrupt. There's no way for the FIA to become more corrupt than it is now. So, honestly, who cares?
Let's get out of here. Bye.